welcome back, Forensicators. So in previous videos, we've set up a Ubuntu EC2 instance in AWS. We've installed CTFd running on that Ubuntu server. And then I've taken you through how to set up the CTFd once you can navigate to it via the public URL in AWS. In this video, what I want to take you through is how to set up a subdomain and how to generate your SSL certificates, and then how to install those on the server so that we can change this ugly looking URL to something that is more easy to find and for people to navigate to when you're running your CTF. So to do that, what I used CloudFlare to host my domain. So let's navigate there, log in. All right, so my website, hardlyadequate.com, this is where it's going to cost you some money. So if you want to spend zero money on this, this is not for you, because I tried looking around. There used to be some free domains. It looks like Google's put a stop to that because they were getting abused. Things like .tk, .ga, .ct and .cl maybe. Anyway, I couldn't find a way to get a free domain anymore. So I'd already paid for my domain and I have unlimited subdomains. So I just use one of my subdomains for my CTF. So if we click on my domain, this brings up a different menu down the side. And what we're going to look at is my subdomains. So this CTF is the subdomain that I'm using for the other EC2 instance that I've got up and running. Remember, we've switched that off. So if I go to ctf.hardlyadequate.com, this actually shouldn't come up because the instance isn't running on AWS. So this will time out. What we want to do is we're going to create another one called CTF demo, and then we're going to point that on the web server to this address and use the SSL certificate. So let's add a record. I'm going to add a CNAME and then go CTF demo. We don't need to add the hardlyadequate.com because that's our root domain. So by default, it'll put the .hardlyadequate.com. If I wrote hardlyadequate.com, then my subdomain would be ctf.demo.hardlyadequate.com.hardlyadequate.com, which is not what we want. If we go back and copy the public IPv4 DNS and paste it here. So yeah, connection timed out 522. So this is because it's not turned on. If we turn it on and have the server up and running again, this will navigate. But I will show you what it looks like once we have this one up and running. Cool. So let's save this. So we now have the CTF demo. Now, this is where I ran into a lot of problems because I was just like, great, my web server works. So if I go to Hardly Adequate, if I can spell it. If I go to hardlyadequate.com, like my web server is up and running and I did not have to install SSL certs on this site, but my website is actually built on GitHub, which is a static site. So it's not a instance running a web server, and through the magic of Cloudflare and GitHub, this all just worked. But then I ran into the issue where I was just like, oh, I can't access my CTF when I was going to ctf.hardlyadequate.com. And this is where I ran around in circles for like hours last night trying to figure this out. So we'll close that. So we know our server's actually up and running. We can see it here. And we can test this now. So if we go to CTF demo, the other thing is sometimes you need to pause and wait because the DNS propagation takes a while for it to work. But you'll see, like, once we have this all up and running, it should work straight away. Especially because my web server is already established. So it's just trying to look for a subdomain. So we get a different error 521. This is what I researched and found a few kind of blog posts. I did Google a few different terms where I was like, error 521 Cloudflare AWS EC2 instance, and I kind of ran around circles for a bit. I think, let me check my notes. I think I had a few, yeah. So I've got a few links here, which I'll share with you guys in the notes, but I'll show them quickly here. These were the kind of like few that I found that finally tweaked, and I was like, okay, this is what I need to do. So if we go back to here, so the first thing I had to do, so if you've got this set up, the first thing I did was SSL. If I went to SSL TLS in Cloudflare, by default, when I moved my domain over to Cloudflare, I was originally on DreamHost. This was set to flexible, which meant that the CTF.highlyAdequate would work, but then my website wouldn't work with GitHub, and I couldn't get that to work. And so the first thing I tried to fix was that, and it was like, you need to change your SSL TLS encryption mode to full. So I did that, and then my main website worked, so hardlyadequate.com, but then my CTF website stopped working. And then that's when I was running around in this 521 error area. So that was this part where it was just like, okay, I need to deploy a certificate on the server. And I was like, how do I do that? And what it gives us here is this, these steps to create the certificate. So I'm going to take you guys through that now. And then the next thing you need to do is figure out how to install it on the nginx server. So that was this part down here. And we need to edit that nginx config file that we originally have. You can see here, this is the things we need to change. So we're going to do all that. So back in the SSL TLS, so we're going to go to Edge Certificates, and we can see that this is the certificate that I've created, the hardlyadequate.com with a star for all my subdomains, and the hardlyadequate.com. That's what we're going to use for this server because it's already created. I think if this doesn't exist, so I don't want to delete it because then I have to like reinstall it on my other server. So essentially, you follow the steps in this guide. So yeah, go to this. The Create Certificate button will be on like here. I think. No. Oh, this one. Create Certificate. So Client Certificates. Create Certificate. I left it as RSA. Certificate Authority is Cloudflare. You can't change that. I set it for 10 years. And then go Create. I'm not going to use these ones. I'm going to use the ones that I already have. No, I'll take you through the full steps of setting this up. So PEM format's the one that we want for nginx. What I did was I'm going to go into we're going to create, let's go to desktop and go new folder, and let's go demo or CTF demo, and we're going to move these into our bash environment eventually. Cool, let's close that. No. Let's go back into this folder. And then what I want to do is create a new text file. And we're going to call this we want to call it the website.pem and then the website.key. So let's make this smaller. And then I'm going to call this ctftachdemo.hardlyadequate.com.pem. Yeah, and then we want to create another file and another text file, ctfdemo.hardlyadequate.com.key. Delete the text. Cool. And we want to open just a text editor. Let's edit both of these. So the PEM file, we want to copy that. paste it in there. I removed that last space and save. We want to do the same with key. Copy that. Paste that in there, remove that last space and save. Cool, so those are saved in that desktop folder that I created. You can close that now. And then the next step, so we've got the SSL certificates and we've generated them. We can go OK. We can see here, expires on 9th of June. So that's this one here. That's the one that we've just created. And we're going to revoke. I'm going to revoke this one eventually. Cool. So if we go now to our bash command line, we're already here. What we want to do is we want to, we need to exit. Actually, we need to check where we need to install this. So we need to install this in etc SSL, your domain name, and then we're going to change the nginx file and point it to there. So let's exit back to our Ubuntu user, and then cd into etc SSL. Let's just check what's in here. So there's no SSL certificates in here at the moment, which is fine. But this is where we're going to want to put it. So let's exit back. We now want to, so I'm going to change to mount C users. We want to change to the directory where these files are that I created. So there they are. And then we need to copy these over to the Ubuntu server. So to do that, we're going to use a SCP to copy them. So SSH, copying files, if you don't know. And I always forget this anyway. But this is essentially what we're going to do. But what we need is we need that TAC-I, remember, because we're not, this would require us to have a password, but we're going to have that EC2 instance. And we can just edit the SSH command to do this. So if we go back up, all right, so SSH, but we want to do secure copy, TAC-I. We want to take the local file. So I'm going to do this one at a time, .pem. And we want to put a colon, and then we want to tell it where we want it to go. So we want to put it in etc SSL, and we want it to drop it in there. Permission denied, public key. Oh, hang on. It's because I've changed directory for where I was to use the key. Oh, now it's doing this weird thing. All right, we're just going to type this out. I don't know why my command line's doing this, but so we want to go home, Desi, and then the CTF tag YouTube PEM. So that's the key that I was getting permission denied for. And then we want to send across the CTF PEM key. We are going to copy this. So highlight, right click again. This should work. Permission denied. So yes, permission denied again. So it must be because our remote Ubuntu user doesn't have permission. So what we're going to do for now is we're going to put this in the home Ubuntu users folder. Ubuntu. So this will drop it in the Ubuntu users folder. Should be fine. We should be able to do this without sudo. Yeah, okay. Cool, so that was successful. And then what we're gonna have to do is go in, move it into the SSL file with sudo. But we wanna move, why does it do this to me? Let's type it out again. CTF, home, typing gets us better with practice, right? YouTube PEM. And then we want to move across the key file, and then we can copy Ubuntu. Yeah. And let's create a file in the home directory. That's what we want to do. So that's gone across now. So then we need to SSH back in. So home Desi, because it's in my folder, and then CTF demo. No, CTF YouTube demo PEM. And then we want to SSH to this. All right, so we're back in the Ubuntu. We've been dropped into a home directory, so the PEM and key file should be in here, and they are. So what we want to do is we want to move. We can move these both at once. So we can go sudo move CTF and then put a star, and then we want to move these into the etc SSL. Now we're allowed to do this now because we're using sudo with the Ubuntu user, where we couldn't do that remotely. So the move command moves them out of here. If we cd into the etc directory, we're now here. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to go to the nginx config file that we made and change that to point to these files, because then Cloudflare can confirm that this server is allowed to use that network path. So let's change into etc, I think it was nginx, and then sites available. Yeah, this is the file we want to change. So let's go sudo v CTF. Is this the file we wanted to change? Server name, access log, root. Yeah. So let's copy that. And then jump back into here. Let's go into insert mode. Let's delete the listen. Give us some space. And then paste in this. If you use tab, it pushes it too far. So I just use 4 spaces here. And then we want to change this to CTF tac demo.hardlyadequate.com. Why is that red? Let's remove this. We don't need this part. So CTF demo hardlyadequate.com. Oh, this needs to be .com as well. .pem, .com.key. And then it's pointing to the same server again. Okay, and then we can quit. Remember, :right quit. So escape, and then :right quit. And then I think it just requires a restart. So that should be sudo system control nginx, no, system control verb, which is restart, nginx service. Take a little while to think about it. There we go. We can check the status again. System control status. Nginx should just be running. Yep. Q to quit that. So now what we've done is this should still work, I think, because it's a public URL. No. This won't still work. Because it's no longer serving up on port 80, it's serving up on 443, and we have to go through Cloudflare now. So this one should work. And it does. And we can confirm that if we log in and go the user credentials that we had before. And we're in. So hopefully this saves you guys some pain. This took me forever yesterday trying to figure this out. Networking is not my strong suit, especially in the DNS SSL certificate space. I was trying to run this on DreamHost and I couldn't figure it out. Cloudflare had much better documentation, and I kind of got there in the end. But yeah, hopefully this helps you. If it did, please like, subscribe, show your support if you can down in the link below. I'll have 2 more videos coming out for you guys later on. So one is I want to do the Docker build of the CTFd and do the same thing. I probably won't go through all the steps. We'll just go to the point of getting to this ugly AWS URL that we have and show that it's online. And the other video is after I've run the workshop, the CTF's done, because we're going to be running a CTF. I'll run through all the answers and then I'll show you a bit more from a user perspective what the CTF instance looks like. But I'll catch you all guys next time. Hope you enjoyed it. See ya. Hey all again. Just before I finish, I wanted to share another troubleshooting tip that I just ran into. So I blew away my demo server and I've got my original CTF server up and running, and I checked that the CTFd service was running. I checked that the nginx service was running. And for whatever reason, I couldn't navigate to it on this CTF hardly adequate.com subdomain that I had. And I couldn't figure out why. And then as I was going through and checking all my config settings, I realized that the public IPv4 address and the public IPv4 DNS URL have both changed because it relies on the IP address in here. So what you need to go do is, I'll go back to the start and, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to right quit, but whatever. The sites enabled CTFd, or the host name that we set up in the last, or in this video actually, we want to go into that, and the server name, you need to change this to the new URL and the new IPv4 address. Hopefully this helps if you run into the same issue that I've done, and every time you turn off the instance and turn it back on, you'll need to do the same thing. One other thing, guys. Also, don't remember that we need to go back to Cloudflare and change our CNAME CTF subdomain to the updated instance one. So we're going to copy that from here and paste that in here and then click save. Again, me mucking around for 15 minutes trying to remember all the things I need to change. But hopefully this helps, and if you get stuck on the same thing, catches.